Okay, so I'm going to call this October 19th joint board meeting to order. Can we get the roll call, Ms. Chisholm?
Dr. Aycock?
Here.
Mr. Alcaro?
Here.
Paulson?
Here.
Ms. Lee?
Here.
Mr. Oberg? Ms. Osborne?
Here.
Mr. Page?
Here.
Mr. Bryant?
Here.
Ms. Bryson Morseberger? Dr. Kraft? Ms. Larson Torres? Ms. McKeever?
Here.
Mrs. Puryear?
Here.
Mr. Wade?
And I'm here, Sherry Kraft, I'm here. I couldn't unmute for a minute.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go ahead into the agenda for the joint board meeting. And it's any questions about the agenda? And if not, we're going to go ahead and I'll accept any motions regarding the agenda.
I move that we accept the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Alcaro. Any seconds?
Second.
Second.
Great. Go ahead and vote on the adoption of the agenda.
Dr. Aycock?
Yes.
Mr. Alcaro?
Yes.
Ms. Coulson?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Ms. Osborne?
Yes.
Mr. Page?
Yes.
Mr. Bryant?
Yes.
Dr. Kraft?
Yes.
Ms. McKeever?
Yes.
Mrs. Puryear?
Thank you, Ms. Chisholm. And my understanding is we don't have anybody for public comments. Just want to clarify that.
That is correct.
Perfect. Then I'm going to turn this over to Ms. Carter. Welcome.
Thank you, Ms. McKeever. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Smith, who's going to present on our 10-day student enrollment count and where we are with enrollment right now.
And share my screen. As you can see, after a dip in the 2019-2020 school year, we're heading in the right direction with our enrollment. And I think I reminded folks of this last year, but keep in mind that we had 2 additional programs in 2018-2019. So most of our classes are actually full right now. So it looks like we're lower relative to 2018-2019, but we are 2 classes short of what we've been.
Okay, so that's the student enrollment. And is that like current as of today?
This is the 10-day count.
So this
So
is what
this
we passed along to the state for that purpose.
Exactly.
Any questions about that?
Do these, I have a question, Jennifer. Do these enrollment numbers affect us in a positive or negative light as it relates to our 10-day enrollment and state funding?
I think that I don't know, to be honest, Ms. Puryear, I don't know the answer to that. I think that the numbers are consistent and pretty like we're going up in the right direction, but I don't think it impacts our state funding.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions?
I do have 2 other screens to share. There might be questions about those.
Excellent, please.
So this is how we break down amongst our schools. So it's somewhat self-explanatory, but you can see that we have about 30.1% of our students, 31% of our students from Monticello High School, which is really significant. It's a smaller school at Elmore High School, but we do get more students from Monticello. Next, we have Elmore High School at 80. Charlottesville High School, which is a bump up from last year when I think we had 55 students. We've got 64 students from CHS this year and 47 from Western Elmore. Any questions about this one?
Yeah, Mr. Smith, what's the other enrollment? Where are they from?
These could be homeschooled students. I know we have a student who comes to us from, I think it's Greene County. It's a variety. It's I wish I had it at my fingertips. Ms. Carter, I'm not sure if you know where the rest of those students are from.
They're home. We have 6 homeschool and then 1 tuition paying student from Greene County.
Okay. Well, thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Carter.
Mhm.
Any other questions about this slide? And finally, this is a little bit of our demographic data. We are about a little over 50% white, with our next largest percentage being Hispanic, and then a slight drop down to Black, mixed race, and then Asian Pacific Islander, and then a very small proportion, one student who identifies as American Indian Native Alaskan.
Great. What do you think about all these numbers, Mr. Smith and Ms. Carter? Go ahead.
I'm not sure how much, if you'd like more information, I'm not sure how this compares to recent years, and that would be really what would be interesting to see how it's changing over time. I'm not sure how much of a presentation you wanted, but I think that would be the interesting thing to look at for me. How are we moving in the right direction demographically? That could be a whole nother presentation if you guys are interested. This is just sort of a picture in time for today.
I think for me, the overall enrollment numbers, because we have, because we did close two programs due to low enrollment, I think that it's encouraging to see full enrollment in so many of our programs and seeing the numbers still inching up. Of course, we want more students, and we're actively working with our business partners and with our business partners and with our base schools to try to figure out how to recruit and how to enroll. We're really working hard with our foundation board as well to see how they can help with marketing so that we can get the word out. We know that our local workforce is in need of strong, qualified candidates, and CATEC can play a great role in that. And so we want to see more students here. But 295 students that are getting a skilled trade and the services that CATEC provides, I think we're really proud of that as well.
Ms. Carter, what are the numbers that you're shooting for? How many would be optimal? How many students would be optimal?
I think that if we had a program in every one of our open classrooms, we could have about 450 students. And so obviously we would love to have 450 students. And I think it's feasible for sure. And the center board has been so generous and supportive of us sort of restructuring and building a future for CATEC around building out our electricity and building trades programs, our academic integration, which you all will hear about. I think we're working toward building a CATEC where we're really trying to respond to students' wants and needs and get them prepared for good jobs. I think it's it's not a pipe dream at all. It's a vision.
I have a question. Did any of our programs have a particular hit during the pandemic? And what I'm really thinking about is our culinary arts and how bad that whole industry has been impacted, and whether we have lost a disproportionate number of folks in that culinary arts, hospitality sector in our students.
Well, this year in Culinary 1, we have the highest number that we've had. We over enrolled, and so we started the year with more students, but that class is as full as it can be. Culinary 1. Our culinary 2 is really pretty, the enrollment in that program is pretty low, but last year was a hard year, like you're saying. So I would say where we continue to see, and I don't know if it's related to the pandemic or if it's really related to the job market and the needs out there. I think our fire science program has, that's where the enrollment really needs to grow the most.
So in the low enrollment in culinary 2, did we lose those students? I mean, did they just say this is too hard to start culinary 1 in a pandemic, and so I'm going to go and take history or whatever in their regular high schools?
Yes, I do think that is part of it. I think last year cooking from home was challenging. And so I think we lost a good number of our year 1 students. And so now year 2 is very small. We are looking at, and we'll discuss it in our program of study changes, but we're looking at some ways to maybe adjust that curriculum, because historically that program has had low second year enrollment. And so we want to figure out how to address that, because even before the pandemic, we still were running a program with low year 2 enrollment.
Do you do follow-up surveys with those students who've decided not to continue?
We do. And the feedback is just often they found another class at their base school. Sometimes things like maybe we're not cooking as much as I thought we would cook, or, you know, they just want to explore something else at their base school. So it ranges.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Any other questions about this particular topic of enrollment? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Smith. I also wanted to just kind of, I should have done this before, but Dr. Gurley is our new superintendent for Charlesville City Schools, and he is on the call. So I'm on my phone, so I don't see everybody, and I forgot to introduce him. And we are just so grateful to have Dr. Gurley and his wisdom as he comes into our division. So thank you so much. And if you just take a moment of the chair's pleasure to introduce him and let him say a couple words, if that's possible, if you guys don't mind. He doesn't have to say a couple words. He can just say hello. This is so informal. So.
Good evening to everyone. I am excited about being here. I did have the opportunity to go out and visit Miss Carter one last week. I think that was Thursday or Friday, Miss Carter. The weeks are running together now. Yes. But I did have an opportunity to come out and visit the programs and see the kids hard at work. And so I'm excited about being here and the work ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gurley. We're so excited to have you. Okay, so we're going to move on to our next. I'm moving between. Okay, so this is the academic integration update. Miss Carter.
You made me a doctor and a mister in that introduction. I'll take both. So I just wanted I wanted the joint board to hear about our academic integration. The center board has been incredibly supportive of our vision at CATEC to integrate academics. We've always acknowledged that access to scheduling has always presented challenges for CATEC. And so we've always tried to offer English, or we've tried to offer an academic course. But more recently, we've been working really hard to figure out how do we integrate academics into the trades. I think I've said this probably to the center board 100 times, but as an educator, when I came to CATEC on my initial walkthroughs, I was so moved and inspired when I walked into lab classes and students are working and they're so excited about what they're learning. And so we pretty quickly kind of shifted to this idea: how can we leverage how much our students love the trade that they're working on, and figure out how to integrate academics into that, because there's so much rich and rigorous academic content built into the work that they do in the trades. So the team that you have with you tonight is really an incredible and impressive team of educators, and they're here to share with you what they've been up to. I wanted the whole joint board to hear how this project's been going. It's foundational to what we're trying to do at CATEC to move toward the future. And it felt like an important topic because you all have supported it so much. So Megan Panic is our English teacher, and she really is the fearless leader of a lot of this work, and she does a lot of quiet behind the scenes work. So Megan is here tonight. Kat Gardner is our EMT and Biology 2 instructor, Anatomy and Physiology. Jake Sills is here with us. He's our math instructor, and he's working this year for the first year from California. He joined us, and he is working with building trades. And David Topper is I couldn't find you on my screen, Mr. Topper, is our economics and government teacher. And so they are going to be sharing with you the work that they've been doing. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Megan.
Thank you. I'm going to share a presentation that I just put the link to in the chat area. There are a couple of links within the presentation that you may want to look at later. All right. So does that look good? Just want to make sure everybody can see it. So thank you all for letting us be here today and tell you a little bit about academics at CATEC. The main topics that we're going to cover are number one, who are we? What do we do? And Stephanie just gave a little bit of background on us. We're going to delve a little bit deeper. Why do we have academics at CATEC? What other services do we provide as academic teachers at CATEC? And then the big piece that we're going to spend the most time talking about is what impacts are we seeing? So if at any time during the presentation you have questions, feel free to chat in those questions. So we're going to start with who we are and what we do. Go ahead, Ms. Gardner.
Hi, my name is Catherine Gardner, go by Kat. I'm the Anatomy and Physiology instructor and also the EMT instructor for CATEC. I am the instructor of record for Anatomy and Physiology for the Vet Science class as well, and I collaborate quite regularly with that teacher, and we make sure we've got the right information going to the students in both of our programs.
Hello, I'm Dave Topper. I'm the social studies teacher at CATEC. Right now I'm teaching economics and personal finance, and then a collab class with Ms. Panic for U.S. government and English 12.
And I am Megan Panic. I embed English 10 and 11 into Cosmetology 1 and Culinary 1. And then I teach a collab class, as Mr. Topper just said, with English 12 and U.S. government together.
Hello, I am Jake Sills, and I'm the Math Integration Specialist at CATEC. Currently this year, I am teaching geometry that is embedded within the buildings trade.
So the next topic we wanted to jump into is really why do we have academics at a CTE center, which is a question we get asked a lot. In fact, when I tell people often that I teach at CATEC, they say, really, there's English at CATEC? Yes, there is. So it's something that we wanted to address first.
So first of all, we're going to talk a little bit about the relevance. The academic classes that we chose to offer at CATEC, they were selected with purpose. And when I was thinking about how to do this thing, Megan found this quote by Dr. Eric Williams, and it sums it up nicely for why we're teaching what we do teach. It's to increase student engagement and ownership of learning. We should give students opportunities to do meaningful work that's going to make a difference locally, nationally, and globally. And so what you'll see as we present here is that we've kind of fine-tuned our classes to that quote.
Yeah, and just to go off of what Topper was saying, in order to provide students with that meaningful work, first we have to find ways to reduce the barriers. So one of CATEC's main goals as a technical education center is to reduce those barriers because we want more students to have the opportunity to attend CATEC. But the question is, how do we do this? So one of the ways to reduce barriers is by allowing students access in academics or to academics. This allows students who need certain credits to obtain those credits at CATEC. In the past, a student might have been turned away from CATEC because they needed a specific academic credit and would have missed too much time at their base school. So in order to receive it. In addition, CATEC is able to reach those non-traditional students and set them up on a path towards a successful way of life. And then finally, academic class sizes are usually a little bit smaller, which allows students to get more on one time with their teacher and foster authentic relationships with their peers.
Adding in these academic credits really improves the rigor of the classes, but also allows our students to take prior knowledge from other classes that they've had at their base school, or their previous sciences or math classes, and apply them to the real world courses that we have at CATEC. They really start to see science and math and government start to come alive in the programs that we have. We found that many of our programs were covering most of the competencies and standards of these core science and math classes already. So it made sense to put them where we did. As Mr. Topper said, we chose these with purpose so that the students were in a program and getting these additional credits for something they're already doing most of the work for anyway. And giving them the rigorous nature of a second program embedded really helps prepare these students to be able to multitask and move forward into a much more demanding life after high school.
So what other services do we as the academic team provide is our next main topic. And the other main service that we are providing, and this actually started last year during the pandemic, we provide a Friday student support group. So every Friday, all of us academic teachers are available in the academic suite to assist students. We work with students on their CATEC classes as well as their base school classes. And we also have a group of tutors that are brought in from UVA that Mr. Smith coordinates with, and those tutors can work one-on-one with students. So we have this kind of wraparound service where we're able to provide a lot of support for some of our students who are struggling and may not be able to get that support at their base schools. So this is where we're going to spend the bulk of our time really tonight, is just talking to you about the impacts that we're seeing by being able to offer some of these embedded courses as well as some of the pull-out courses that we offer. So we're going to start with our embedded courses and then work our way towards the pull-out courses. So I integrate English 11 into Cosmetology 1. And as Mr. Topper mentioned before, the main impact that I see on a regular basis is just an increase in student engagement, because we're actually working on meaningful work that is not just going to get turned into me and graded, but it's going to go out into the public and it's going to connect to the trades that they love. So an example of this, and this is actually linked into our blog URL is linked into the presentation. So you can check that out later if you'd like, but we have a blog for our CATEC cosmetology program that students uploaded blogs to last year, and they're going to continue to upload blogs to this year as well. So if you go there, you'll see that some of their how-to blogs, their tutorial blogs from last year. We had some really fun things going on this year in culinary, because I also embed English 10 and 11 into the Culinary Arts 1 classroom. We watched some of the Netflix special High on the Hog, which met English standards. And we reflected and we discussed, what we watched. And then we were so lucky to have Lenny Sorensen, who appears in episode 3 of High on the Hog, come to CATEC. She made James Hemming's mac and cheese for all of the students, which they loved. And Wegmans was amazing, and they donated oysters for us. So the students all got to try fresh oysters if they were brave enough to. And they had a really great time. And it was a wonderful way to, again, kind of mesh together some of our English standards with history and with culinary. And finally, we have a culinary blog as well that we have just started to develop. And our first blogs are going up as we speak. I'm going to work on it later tonight to get more of them up. We have Cultivate Charlottesville coming on Friday to do a produce market day with us. And so the very first blogs that the culinary students did this year is they wrote recipe blogs. So we got the list of produce that was going to be coming on Friday. They chose a piece of produce, so sweet potatoes or green beans. They found a great recipe that would be easy enough for anybody who had basic culinary knowledge to cook. And they made a recipe blog with that recipe. And so those are going up, and we're going to have a QR code that students can come and pick up their free produce, scan the QR code, and it'll take them right to our blog site so that they can look at the recipes that are there and choose a recipe that they might want to use. So because students know that these blogs are going out into the world and their classmates might be able to use them and refer to them, it really just made them engage with this project and want to do a great job on their recipe blogs.
Thanks, Megan. I get the opportunity to embed geometry into the building trade. So being able to do that allows students to have a hands-on application to the concepts that they're learning in my geometry course. It also allows them to apply their critical thinking to real-world projects. So this past month or so, students were working on a birdhouse, and I created a project that went along with that birdhouse. So as they were building this birdhouse, they had to answer specific questions about what's the height, what's the volume, what's the area, what's the surface area, how much would this cost if you guys had to do it all on your own. And so it was really a cool experience for the students to be able to get to do that and build something on their own, and then also apply the geometry to that.
With EMT and vet science, we found that, especially with EMT, we were doing the vast majority of human anatomy and physiology. Probably 80% of the standards for that class were already being covered in the EMT program, and very close to that with vet science as well, because body systems are the same regardless of the mammal. So they were learning all of this anyway. The nice thing that this actually really melded well, because the students were able to not just get things at the EMT side, but we went down to the cellular level, which took care of some of the missed standards from anatomy and physiology. And it really helps with their understanding of things in EMT when we get down to that very, very basic level, and they can see the bits and pieces of it. And then we come back to the big picture at the EMT level, and you really start to see those light bulbs go on going, now I understand why this is happening. So it really is not only a benefit to them as far as increasing rigor and giving them an additional required science credit, but they really truly understand. They don't just learn some facts, but they understand everything at a deeper level, which is going to lead to better knowledge retention in the long run. It's been a really great pairing for my students.
Our U.S. government English collaboration class, that's the one that Ms. Panic and I co-teach. And I mean, the purpose of that, just as you know, is to prepare students to be competent citizens that are going to go out and understand the processes of government, how it impacts them, how they can impact it, and how it could impact them in their jobs, but also if they ever develop their own businesses, how the different decisions that are being made at a local level will impact them. Now, this year as a team, Ms. Panic and I chose to follow a common theme, which is the hero's journey, which is what you see on the screen right now. All right. And the hero's journey is just a common template of stories that involve the hero who goes on an adventure, is victorious, and then in a decisive type of crisis and emerges like a butterfly out of the cocoon. Something new comes from that. And our thinking was that this concept, it really transcends both English and government. As well as follows how our country has developed or matured throughout all of history. And what we have displayed there is on the left is our template, the hero's journey. And on the right is one where we're a unit that we're just finishing up on the foundations of government. And so you can see the call to adventure is the Declaration of Independence and the breaking free. And it just follows all the way through there, through the abyss, which was the revolution, and then the atonement and the return to to what we have today, or to a version of what we have today. Now, if we were to approach our class as a business, our product would be critical thinking, self-aware young adults who value searching for their own answers and are able to remove the static that might get in the way of them finding those things. So that's our English in 12 and government collaboration. Now, I also teach an economics and personal finance class. And having money management skills is probably, I tell my students, this is the most important class you're going to take. No offense to all the other teachers right now, but this is the things that you can do if you're good with your money. You can live happy, healthy, secure life. And my students' level of understanding of the basics of budgeting and savings and debt and investing is going to impact their life starting now, starting whenever they start to have jobs and they start making money. These personal finance skills are essential, because without them, my students could spend their entire lives working for money and never get ahead. So my students in my class are going to create real and pseudo financial portfolios. They're going to develop career plans. We're going to look at short and long-term goals, the difference between needs and wants. I've got a really cool program that we're using. It's called Mimic Personal Finance. The picture on the screen is a snapshot of that. Each of my students will go in, and every week in my class is a month long in a year's time. So a week equals a month, and they're going to manage a budget. They're given a salary, they're given different bills they have to pay, and each Friday we'll do a spin on the wheel of life, and the wheel of life can give you something good, or it can give you something that's maybe bad. It could be, hey, you got a raise, so you get a bonus, or hey, you found out you're having twins, so you got to cover up with that child care. Real life scenario type things. And early in the year, I made a commitment to these guys, to my students, and it's simply stated, in return for their investment in my class, I'm going to lead them to and start them down a path to financial stability, prosperity. I'm going to help them build that road on a strong foundation. And so that's what I'm shooting for with our economics and personal finance. Now, the last class that we offer is one Ms. Panic already talked about, and that was our academic support, which we offer on Fridays. Last year, it started when our students came back into the school, and we realized, hey, man, these guys we're not firing all cylinders yet. Let's put together a group that can help them. So we identify students that may need help. Now they can also be nominated by a teacher or self-nominate them, to get into this program. And some of them, it's a one hit and boom, they're done. Others, they'll come in, and this is kind of a nice, safe place for them to learn. And last year, that's exactly what happened. We had 14 students that became our core, our pod. And of all the 14 students that regularly attended, you can see last year they graduated, or they either graduated or they passed their CATEC classes heading into their senior year. So it's a nice, strong, safe place that we can bring our children, our students, our young learners. So those are our words. We also thought we'd share some of the student testimonials with you.
So we asked some students this year how they, kind of what they thought the impact of the classes were for them. And so this was one of my students who is in English 11, which is embedded into Culinary 1. You can read what Xander says. I won't read it to you, but what I asked him, all I asked him was, how do you think it's going with embedding, English into culinary and being able to take English at CATEC? And this was his answer. So he clearly understood why we were starting to embed, and he's already seeing that these subjects connect. And this was a perfect example of, helping a student reduce barriers so that he could come to us. He could have probably come to us anyway if he didn't take English, but then he would not have had that study hall. And for some of our students, having that, being able to fit an extra study hall into their schedule is so meaningful. And having academics embedded or even a pull-out class allows them to be able to do that in their schedule.
And this is one of my students from last year, Marlo Rivas. He's an auto tech. He was in my economics and personal finance class. And again, well, I know this is it's a lot of words on the slide. Now, it's like a big time no-no for teachers not to put that many words on the slide, but that's his quote. You know, he came from when he came into my class, he told me, and I involve their families a lot when I'm teaching personal finance. Hey, go home and talk to your parents about this. Is this something that your family's doing? And he told me that his family didn't have a lot of this background, or they didn't share it with him. And so this is where he took it when I asked him to sit down and share about last year.
Any other testimonials?
That was it. So we wanted to just thank you for letting us present to you all, and please ask any questions that you have. I see that there's some in the chat, so we're gonna start to get in there and start to answer some of those.
I have a question about the embedded classes. In terms of time in a class, if you're taking English embedded in culinary arts, is there an extra amount of time allowed for any kind of exams, or how does that actually work?
So I push in at least 2 days a week, and I'm in there for anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour doing English work. There are some weeks when I actually push in 3 days a week, 3 mornings a week. So we've kind of let it happen a little bit more organically. I'm always definitely in there 2 days a week with them. But if sometimes we need extra time, we do that. Sometimes I have to pull them just to do something that's specifically English, you know, an English quiz or something like that. So I will pull them into the English room and do that. And then they'll return to culinary arts.
And then just to add on that with the geometry, my goal has been to get it down there Monday through Thursday. And usually they have lab time, and I try and push in right before they go to the lab time. I try and teach them for about 20-25 minutes and let them go back out into the lab. And then if they need that extra time, I usually tell them to come up to academic support to get that extra time for tests and quizzes. But my main goal with them is I want them to be working on projects. So it's more project-based learning.
And as far as the standalone classes, it's they'll come to me either Monday and Wednesday, or Tuesday and Thursday for an hour, once in the morning and once in the afternoon. Different classes, different students come at AM, PM, CATEC.
Slightly different is the anatomy and physiology, and that I have the biology endorsement, so we don't need a separate teacher. I'm already there, and we really integrate it directly with the EMT curriculum and add some additional labs and things to round out all of the standards that we need for biology.
Thank you.
I think Dr. Gurley had a question related to seat time waiver for the push-in classes or the integrated classes.
Yes, so there is, what we do is because it is so integrated, students get credit for the time they spend in their trade as well as what they do when they get pulled out for the direct instruction. So because it's project-based, it meets the their seat time requirements. And they're here with us for such large chunks of time that we're able to meet those needs.
Any other questions?
Do you want to expand on, do you want to answer the question that Mr. Page had, Megan?
Oh, sure, of course.
Yeah, so I'd put a quick answer in the chat. So the hero's journey is really the theme, kind of a thematic piece that we decided to use in our English 12 and government collaborative class. So that class meets at least twice a week, and it meets for an hour. Plus they have extra time that they do sometimes come in. It depends. We built the class so that it is very self-paced, and it's a hybrid class. So partially online, partially face-to-face. And we use that hero's journey model that archetype, if you will, as kind of a continual theme. And we're going to keep coming back to it as we go through the different units of study in the course.
Ms. Carter, I would just like to say kudos to you, because when you came first to CATEC, and it seems like a while ago, but I think it was in 2019-ish, or was it, you had the vision for what is taking place and what we're listening to tonight. And even with the challenges of pandemic and other things along the way, you put together a terrific team, a very impressive team. And it seems like you've gotten the integration in the academic integration into CATEC beautifully. So congratulations. And thank you to all of you who spoke to us tonight. It's very interesting, and I'm just so impressed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alcaro. It's a wonderful team of teachers.
I
can. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, that's fine. Go ahead, Lisa.
Oh, I was just going to say I concur. I remember the first time that Ms. Carter presented that, the idea of this, and it was very exciting. So it's really very cool to see that this is coming to fruition, and how you've worked to integrate those classes. And yeah, please let us know how we can continue to support. So thank you for all of that.
Thank you.
Well, the other thing that strikes me is that you've really worked so hard to make CATEC a home for these students, to make them feel that this is their place. And I think that's so important. You know, a lot of these students probably, maybe haven't even found that kind of a home at their base schools, but this is another option for them to really have a sense of community with you. I appreciate that very much.
Thank you, Jerry. I appreciate you saying that. We do love our students at CATEC, and we're happy that they found a home with us, and that they want to come to us.
This isn't a question, but just a comment. I thought that was a great presentation. I've listened to quite a few of them over my tenure, and I think you all did a fabulous job of, telling us what you were doing and giving examples and grounding it in the students. So good job.
They are very good teachers. Ms.
I
Paulson.
too enjoyed, Ms. Carter, I too enjoyed the presentation. It's very exciting to see how we can do two things at one time, i.e. the academic portion and the technical portion, which to me makes students what we want them to be, well-rounded individuals. And one thing that we have learned in COVID is that there's more than one way to learn. We all learn at different rates. And because of that, we have had to think out of the box, do some collaborative and partnering, but allowing everybody to show their individual gifts. And this presentation tonight has shown us how each of our students at CATEC has an individual gift, and they're all shining. So to you and your team, kudos.
Thank you, Ms. Freer.
Ms. Carter, oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead, Doc. I'll wait. You can go ahead.
I was just going to ask, I mean, it's not too long when students will be enrolling again, and how much of your marketing is about the embedded classes and the all the academic offerings at CATEC. It seems to me that's a very important piece, or I'm sure you've already thought of it, but I was just wondering how you're working with guidance counselors and those folks.
Well, one of the things that's really helped working with guidance counselors is the center board's support of our vision to bring a school counselor onto our team. And that has been huge. And I think it's really helped us not only with our students coming back post-pandemic and dealing with the stresses of all of that, but also just a liaison between base schools and answering questions and helping them understand all of the nuances that we have at CATEC. So that's probably the first line of defense. We're always at school counselor director meetings. We make individual visits to school counselors and their department meetings to make sure they understand what we have. One strategy that got passed on to me by Megan Maynard, which was really great, was building, and we are doing that for program planning, is building out a slide deck that we deliver to the school counselors to make sure that that's what they're saying, exactly what we have, and they can have it to reference back. So we're using some strategies like that. We've also worked really hard with Amanda J, who does our marketing to increase our social media presence. I was going to talk about it in my director's comments, and I still will. But we had a really great meeting today with local business leaders and all of the high school principals to talk about what we have here and how important it is for our students and how many opportunities are embedded in what we do. So we're just constantly beating the drum in all the ways that we can. Oh, and then Anthony also just emailed me talking about doing more than one thing at a time. We also present to all freshman seminars at all of our base schools and in BKT at CHS directly to students.
So Ms. Carter, I want to just echo the sentiments of everybody else. I remember the days of being a counselor trying to schedule students for a course at CATEC, and those barriers. It was always needed English class. You couldn't take English, you couldn't take math. And you all have reduced all those barriers, and it's opened a wide pool of students who want to attend CATEC. The presentation was outstanding. Your teachers are great, and your vision is now coming to fruition. So congratulations, and you've added a counselor on your team. That's wonderful.
Yay, school counselors.
Yes.
So important. Thank you,
Yes.
Mr. Bryant.
You're welcome.
Is that everybody? Just want to make sure.
Oh, you muted yourself, Jennifer.
Thank you for telling me that. Any other comments or questions? Okay, so thank you to Mr. Sills and Mr. Topper, Ms. Gardner and Ms. Panic for your presentation. It was really helpful. And I really also appreciate Ms. Carter's vision coming to fruition. So thanks. We are at 6:47 and I'm happy to move to the next item on the agenda, which are comments. Ms. Carter?
I just wanted to tell Dr. Haas and Dr. Gurley, I wanted to thank them for their support today. We welcomed 30 people into our building. It was a vision that Dr. Haas had over the summer for us to bring together our local workforce leaders, as well as business partners and our high school principals to try to strengthen those pathways and the connections between business and school. And today that also came to fruition with the help of Megan Maynard and Jay Thomas. We had a meeting that Chris Engel was here, who's the Director of Economic Development. We had Virginia CareerWorks, a team from that organization. All of our high school principals and counseling directors were here as well. And it was a really fruitful conversation. And I think we left with some really strong ideas of how to strengthen the communication between what businesses want and need and what schools are currently doing. And so much of it is aligned. And I think what came out of the meeting was just trying to build those bridges. And Megan gave the analogy of the tunnel that's in the western part of Albemarle County, how they started on either side and how it came together. And I feel like we're both tunneling, and we're almost there together. So anyway, I appreciate Dr. Haas's vision around that, and it was a really, really good meeting. And we're going to have 4. We're going to do them quarterly, so we'll have a different group of people next. And then I just wanted to say thank you to Dr. Gurley for taking time out of his, I cannot imagine how busy schedule, to come and tour CATEC and to meet with me and answer questions. We scheduled an hour and he spent an hour and a half with us. He walked in every classroom. He had amazing questions, and I am just really excited to work with him moving forward. He has a strong CTE background. I was very excited after our meeting, and I just wanted to say welcome to him. And welcome to our center board and CATEC and Charlottesville City. We're very, very, very pleased to have you. So thank you. And those are my comments, Ms. McKeever.
Any other comments from the adult ed program manager or assistant principal?
I'll provide a couple. I'll be very quick.
Great.
So I just wanted to let everyone know that enrollment reported at the August 10th board meeting for adult programs was 253. Currently, as of today, we are sitting at enrollment of 298. So that is an increase of 45 students from the August board meeting. Also, the adult CNA program has secured a new Board of Nursing approved long-term care clinical site. We've partnered with Our Lady of Peace, and students did begin clinicals there this past Saturday. We will also be required to have any students in our healthcare programs that require any type of clinical location provide proof of COVID vaccination. A lot of the facilities that are approved are now requiring staff to be vaccinated and in turn requiring students. So beginning in the spring semester, all classes that do have to have those clinical hours will be required to be fully vaccinated. Lastly, adult programs, in order to create an outreach, we have created adult-specific Facebook and Instagram accounts in order to continually promote our adult programs, engage with community members, and keep our students and business partners up to date with expanded course offerings. We hope the expanded presence will positively promote the value of CATEC training. And just because I know you're all movers and shakers, influencers in the community, I am going to post in the chat box all of our social media names so you can follow us. And that's all I had. Any questions?
Thank you so much.
Ms. Tomlin,
Yes.
the 298 student enrollment, how does that compare with, well, last year was a terrible year, but I'm assuming we're on an upward trajectory over the past couple?
Last year actually wasn't a terrible year. Last year we somehow survived the pandemic and had really great enrollment numbers. They are up a little bit again this year by about 12 students over this period last year. So it's still an upward trajectory. So it is, we are good.
Thank you for that.
Mr. Smith?
I do not have any comments at this time.
Great. Okay. So Ms. Carter, is there anything else that you wanted to add to the joint board meeting?
No, I think I'm good. Thank you to everybody for taking time to come.
Okay, we are gonna adjourn this meeting and go into our center board meeting. Is that accurate? Okay, so hearing no objection, we're gonna stand adjourned from the joint board meeting. Katrina, do you mind, do you want to be chair in the next meeting now that you're back, or no?
Yeah, I can do it. Let me pull up the documents real quick. Actually, I think I already have them up. No, that's the joint.
I know, it's very confusing. I have the same problem. I'm like, uh-oh, where's my?
Okay, center.
Okay, so
workbooks.
this one is approval of minutes, financial status.
Okay, pulling it up now.
Perfect.
October. I guess let's go ahead and start all this center board meeting to order and start with a roll call, Ms. Chisholm.
Dr. Acuff?
Trying to
Ms.
be
Paul-
clear.
Ms. Paulson?
Here.
Ms. McKeever?
Here.
Ms. Osborne?
Here.
Mrs. Puryear?
Here.
Mr. Wade.
Is that a
Great.
quorum? Yeah, that's a quorum, right?
Yes.
Next item, which is an action item, is adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
I will move the adoption of the agenda.
I second.
Great. I heard a motion from Ms. McKeever, a second from Ms. Osborne. I'm assuming there's no discussion. Correct me if I'm wrong. Can we go ahead and have a vote on that?
Dr. Acuff? Ms. Carlson?
Yes.
Ms. McKeever?
Yes.
Mrs. Osborne?
Yes.
Mrs. Puryear?
Yes.
Mr. Wade.
Our next item is public comment. Ms. Carter, do we have any public comment? People signed up for public comment today?
We do not.
Okay. Next up, which is an action item, is approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion for that?
I'll move the approval of the minutes.
I second.
So we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, can we have a vote, please?
Acuff? Ms. Carlson?
Yes.
Ms. McKeever?
Yes.
Ms. Osborne?
Yes.
Mrs. Puryear?
Yes.
Mr. Wade.
Next up is going to be a discussion and approval of our financial status. Ms. Carter, did you have a presentation or did you want to discuss anything about that?
With our typical financials, I don't. Everything is in order. All the bills are paid, and we are in a healthy financial status.
Great. That's always good to hear. Does anyone have a motion on that?
I move the acceptance of the financials as presented.
Thank
I'll
you.
second. Jennifer will second.
Thank you. Any discussion on that? Ms. Chisholm, can we please have a vote?
Dr. Acuff? Ms. Carlson?
Yes.
Ms. McKeever?
Yes.
Ms. Osborne?
Yes.
Mrs. Puryear?
Yes.
Mr. Wade.
Great. Okay, so we cruised through that. Now we're coming up on the funding request draft, which is an informational item. So I'm sure Ms. Carter has something to share with us. Ms. Carter.
I do. I have a presentation there. Dr. Acuff is just coming back in. So it is the time of year where we start talking about our budget, and it is an awkward time because we're so far ahead of our local schools. But I think we have a very simple, straightforward budget proposal to share with you for the 2022-23 school year. You heard much of what CATEC is focused on and building the future of CATEC, and really since I arrived in 2019. It's been a pretty consistent vision, and we're still working toward building that vision. We are going to continue to promote our high interest and high demand programs such as auto tech, and our building trades and electricity. This budget really finalizes the vision to build out our building trades and electrical program. We are going to continue to integrate core academics, as you heard earlier, why that's important and how it reduces barriers for our students and increases access and relevancy for our students to be able to understand their core academics in a more meaningful way. We're going to continue to bolster student preparation through work-based learning. Shannon's done an amazing job with that. It's incredibly important for our students to get real on-the-job training, and we will continue to support that. We will continue to seek strong, sustainable business partnerships so that our businesses can help us make sure that we're providing programming that will prepare our students for life after high school, embracing instructional practices that focus on rigor and relevance, which you also heard about in the academic program, and continuing to build a student support program that's research-based and that is structured around giving our students what they need to be successful. The total funding request for 2022-23 is $3,744,474. I guess of note, the largest areas of increase, we're requesting a $5,000 increase in our technology total. Right now, the cost for technology has increased, and we have some aging technology that we know is going to have to be replaced. We have not increased that line in several years, and we feel like this is the time that we need to do that. You also see a large increase in our building services total. We have a plumbing issue that needs to be addressed. And so we have had to build additional funding into that line as well. You also see a 15.66% increase in high school programs. That is a self-funded program. We are basing that number on the revenue that was generated last year. And we feel with the numbers that we've had in the fall that an increase of 15.66% is quite achievable. Our overall revenue, our revenue overview, we are asking for a 7.9% increase from Albemarle County and a 6.9% increase from Charlottesville City. We are going to use $240,000 or about 4% less than we used last year from our fund balance. And so we're expecting a 6.89% increase from state funding. You can again see a large increase from adult programs and the revenue that we're expected to see through that program. And then we're anticipating some reduced revenue in other areas such as rent and areas that we will not have next year. The overall change from the adopted budget is an 8.33% increase. So in summary, the compensation and benefits increases, we really have a placeholder in there right now. It is so early in the budget season. We're anticipating about a $212,000 increase. As I mentioned, we have some building repairs that we know have to be addressed. So we built that into our budget, and also technology replacement. Please keep in mind that the increase in compensation and benefits includes a full-time building trades program instructor. This is the year the Center Board has supported a vision for us to move building trades and electricity from a combined instructional position to one full-time instructional position for each program. So this is the year that we implement a full-time building trades instructor. Over the summer, we hired a new electricity and building trades instructor, and that instructor will teach electricity. So we'll be looking for building trades. That concludes the budget request, and so I'm here and happy to answer questions.
Ms. Carter, this is Ms. Puryear, and I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, when you spoke about the plumbing issues, when would those repairs occur? I'm not concerned about the money, but how those issues may impact the students and the staff in the building. Is this something that can happen during downtime, like holiday time or spring break time? How do you envision that occurring?
I envision if the budget is approved the way that we've presented it, and then then we will have access to this budget July 1. So we anticipate having that project start after July 1. So it's the next fiscal year. It can certainly happen over the summer. As I mentioned, well, no, I didn't mention it here, was the foundation board. We're getting a new roof over the summer. And so summer programming is not going to be able to happen. And so my goal is really to have that plumbing issue fixed at the same time, so that when we start the school year, that electricity lab is up and running. The bathroom has been closed for 2 years because it has not worked. And so now that we have a class going in there, the electricity program is going in there, we have to get it resolved over the summer.
Are we doing solar panels on the roof?
What I know is that the roof is being installed solar ready. There's lots of conversation about it, but I know that the architects have been here. Scott Hendricks has been here. I know that the roof that is being put on will be solar ready. So if it happens this summer, I'm not sure, but I know that they're putting it in a position to be able to install solar panels.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
To remind me, Ms. Carter, how many teachers and staff does CATEC have?
We have about 30 staff total, including instructors. We have 14 instructional staff, and then I guess it's about 16 other staff members. Some of those are itinerant, and they are here. Like we have Albemarle County's work study. We always count them in our t-shirt count, and so they're not really ours, but we have about 30 people that are here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I can't see everybody, so I'm sorry if I'm cutting someone off who had a question. I had a question though. So the 8, I guess I'm used to seeing increases in the budget tied to student growth. And I know we had a presentation earlier about attendance, and I guess I just needed a refresher on, did we, I don't know how to word it. Like did we grow? I know we grew over last year because of COVID, but did we grow over the year over that? Because I just want to have a justification for, an 8% increase if we're still technically at the students that we had 2 years ago. I just would want some more information, I guess, about that in general, because that's a lot.
Yeah, we've had a significant bump between 2018-19. I think the number was 264 students in the year 2018-19. Last year, due to the pandemic, we had 290 students, and this year we have 295. So there has been a substantial increase in student enrollment, and that's with closing 2 programs. One of the reasons that you see, the 8% increase is attributed to the building trades instructor, and also we've got a placeholder in there for increases in salary and benefits. And so we know those happen every year as well. We're not sure what that will be at this very moment, but we put a placeholder in.
Will those be tied to the same structure that Albemarle uses for its raises?
Yes. So we will follow whatever Albemarle does. We will work with them, and we will follow what they do.
Okay, and then my last question, again, I'm sorry if I'm cutting people off. I can only see Ellen and Jennifer on my screen right now. And now that I've gotten distracted, I don't even remember what I was going to ask. No, it was something about, have you had conversations? What's the process, if you could explain for me, with how you draft this and what conversations you have with the superintendents to make sure they know what's coming and make sure things are feasible?
So I met with Dr. Haas and Dr. Gurley. I think it was Dr. Gurley. He wasn't even on board yet, but he did hop onto our meeting. In the pre-agenda meeting, and went over the numbers and sort of what we were presenting. And we work with Albemarle County's finance department as well to just get a baseline of what they're thinking may need to be included.
I did have a question related to, so I know when we met the other day, I noticed that the culinary numbers were low. So does this budget take into consideration reducing one of those culinary sections? So how does that all fit into the budget projection?
We look at staffing and numbers for all of our programs. And so it is considered in writing the budget.
So I get, is that position still in this budget, or is that position out of this budget?
There is a reduction of 1 culinary arts instructor in this budget.
Okay. So I guess my question is, the position that we're proposing, would that offset? Wouldn't that those 2 positions offset one another? Because I know we're requesting one, but I guess isn't that just the exchange of an FTE?
Not necessarily at CATEC, because we are recruiting people from the industry. We have to be competitive with our salaries. And so a building trades instructor that comes in is a master. They have to be a building trades instructor. You have to be a master electrician, a master plumber. You have to have such high qualifications that we did write that budget, that item in the budget at a substantially higher rate.
Ms. Carter, is there, I know you had talked about potentially lowering or thinking about programs that we might not need anymore. Is there any kind of foresight on if we're going to have any reductions there? You said really briefly there were reductions in some areas. Is that going to be information we get at some point?
Yes, yes. The culinary arts program is the main one for the moment that we were addressing.
Does anyone else have any questions? I feel like I'm hogging it here. Just for my own edification, what's the process? And I'm not ashamed to admit it, even though I'm the chair. When do we get a more detailed kind of line item budget at some point? I know on the school board side, we get like a big book that kind of has everything. If you did have questions about independent or line item expenditures, do we get one of those, or do we have access to one online?
Yes, there is. I'll make sure that you have one before the next meeting. I'm sort of, in some ways, waiting to make sure to see what the numbers are from the beginning budget discussions in the county and the city, and then we'll have more detail.
Awesome. Okay, last call. Okay, so the next item, that was just for information. So we have the next item is just other business by board or superintendents. Dr. Gurley or Dr. Haas, did you have anything you wanted to say? I'm sorry, I'm having to scan my screen as I look.
I do not.
I do not. Thank you very much, Ms. Clausen.
Yep. Any board members with anything to say? Okay, so with nothing on that agenda item, what's left is a closed session. Ms. McKeever, do you have a motion to bring us into closed session?
I do, I think. Just a moment.
I'm sorry, I threw you for a loop because I thought you were going to be running the meeting. So
Yeah, no. I move that the CATEC Center Board go into closed session as authorized by the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, Section 2.2-3711A of the Code of Virginia, under subsection 1 for the discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for employee in the assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific public officers, appointees, or employees of any public body.
do we have a second?
Second.
Can we go ahead and have a vote, please, Ms. Chisholm?
Dr. Acuff,
Yes.
Ms. Carlson,
Yes.
Ms. McKeever,
Yes.
Ms. Osborne,
Yes.
Mrs. Puryear, Mrs. Puryear,
Yes.
Mr. Wade.
Okay, so having taken that vote, I think the next step is for us to all, if you're going to the closed meeting, leave this meeting and use the alternative link, and then we'll meet up in that Zoom to have our closed meeting and then come back out to certify it. So I'll see you guys on the other side.
Did I get back before everybody else?
I'm here.
Oh,
Check.
okay.
I'm here.
I think I see everyone. Kate, Miss.
Is everybody here?
I'm here.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and move, wait, oh, I keep losing my certification, I'm sorry. I move that the board certify that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, considered.
Second.
Can we go ahead and have a vote, please?
Dr. Acuff,
Yes.
Ms. Carlson,
Yes.
Ms. McKeever,
Yes.
Ms. Osborne,
Yes.
Mrs. Puryear,
Yes.
Mr. Wade.
Awesome. That is, oh, yep, that is the final agenda item. All that's left is adjournment, which was scheduled for 7:30. So we're 5 minutes ahead of schedule. I hope you all have a wonderful night. Thank you so much. Taking over the
Stay
meeting.
safe.
Thank you,
Good night.
everyone. Have a
Stay
great
safe.
evening.